98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com presents the Mid-Columbia Today Show with Mark Bailey. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital, Eastside Paving, and Del Carpine Automotive. Now, here's Mark Bailey.
Good morning. It's 8:05. We've arrived on Friday, the 17th of July. Cameron Eisenberg is producing. Of course, you may be listening on our podcast, at which point it may not be the 17th of July. It might be the 18th. It might be the 19th. You could be doing this for historical purposes somewhere down the road, for all I know. I'm not sure our show ages that great, though, because we talked about a lot of, obviously, things that are going on right at the current time. Like today, we're going to talk about the Klickitat County Sheriff's election. We have our third candidate on to talk to. Dwayne Matulovich is here. We'll talk to him for a little while. Second half of the program, Marti Dane is going to be here as a guest today, and she's going to be here all next week because I'm going to be gone. She's going to guest host the show. So all that coming up, but first, as we usually do, let's tell you what this day has meant and what it means, at least to some people. 1862, during the Civil War, Congress approved the Second Confiscation Act, which declared all slaves taking refuge behind Union lines were to be set free. 1902, Willis Carrier produced a set of designs for what would become the world's first modern air conditioning system. 1918, Russia's Tsar Nicholas II and his family were executed by the Bolsheviks. 1944, during World War II, 320 men were killed when a pair of ammunition ships exploded at the Port Chicago Naval Magazine in California. 1945, following Nazi Germany's surrender, President Harry Truman, Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill began meeting at Potsdam in the final Allied summit of World War II. This day in 1959, Disneyland opened in Anaheim, California. After its $17 million year-long construction, the park drew 1 million visitors in the first 10 weeks. And you ought to see the story about how it was unfinished when it opened. It is a great story. You can probably find it online. It was on the brink of disaster, basically. On the brink of it. It was a nationally televised opening, too. Old Walt had all the bases covered. But the construction got tight in the end. 1975, an Apollo spaceship docked with a Soyuz spacecraft in orbit is the first superpower link-up of its kind. 1981, 114 people were killed when a pair of suspended walkways above the lobby of the Kansas City Hyatt Regency Hotel collapsed during a tea dance. 1996, TWA Flight 800, a Europe-bound Boeing 747, exploded and crashed off Long Island, New York. All 230 people on board were killed. 2014, all 298 passengers and crew aboard Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 were killed when the Boeing 777 was shot down over rebel-held eastern Ukraine. Both Ukraine's government and pro-Russian separatists denied responsibility. And in 2020, civil rights icon John Lewis, whose bloody beating by Alabama state troopers in 1965 helped galvanize opposition to racial segregation and went on to a long and celebrated career in Congress, died at the age of 80. Not much for days today. It is World Emoji Day today. It is World Day for International Justice. And it's National Tattoo Day today for whatever reason, if that's what you're into. Also today, our food today, I imagine this is pretty good. It's not a flavor I would pick, but I can certainly see why people would like it. It's National Peach Ice Cream Day today. Specifically today, it's peach ice cream. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure you find that much in the store, but I haven't looked, I guess. I'm always looking for the chocolate chip ice cream. That's my personal favorite. Anything with chocolate, usually, though, I'm good for. So there it is for what it's worth. Probably not a whole lot. 8:08 in the morning. When we come back, Klickitat County Sheriff's candidate Dwayne Matulovich right after this.
Everyone should be able to grow older with respect and be safe. But many older adults experience abuse. Abuse can happen to anyone, but those who identify as LGBTQIA2S+ and those living with HIV can be at higher risk. Abuse can come from anyone, a caregiver, family member, a stranger. Abuse can be physical, emotional, financial, even forced isolation or sexual harm. Too often, abuse goes unreported. It's important to know the signs of abuse, which can include unexplained injuries, sudden mood changes, or changes in finances. If you experience abuse or suspect it, take action. Reporting suspected abuse, even if you're not sure, can make a real difference in your life or the life of someone you know and care about. Learn more at Oregon.gov/respect. That's Oregon.gov/respect. Brought to you by the Oregon Department of Human Services.
There's nothing like the feeling you get when lending a helping hand to a neighbor. Many Gorge families are without transportation, and you can help do something about that. Bicoastal Media and C.H. Ernest Motors present Wheels of Hope. This fall, we'll hand over the keys to a 2015 Nissan Sentra. If you know a local family that has fallen on hard times and needs a vehicle, you can help them by nominating them at gorgeradio.com. You can make a difference in the lives of others in our community. Nominate a vehicle-challenged family today at gorgeradio.com. Wheels of Hope also supported by A&E Plumbing, Heating and Air, Walmart of the Gorge, Pioneer Appliance, Columbia Cascade Housing Corporation, Skyline Health, Sinclair, Wagap, Bimart, and Pee-wee's Auto Detail. Visit gorgeradio.com to see how you can make a difference with Wheels of Hope.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bicoastal Media, Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
8:11 in the morning on Mid-Columbia Today, as it is a Friday, and we continue along the election trail. The ballots are going out in Klickitat County. They've been mailed out, and August 4th is Election Day for the primary. And we are going to talk to Klickitat County Sheriff's candidate Dwayne Matulovich this morning. Good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning. Thank you, Mark.
Well, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me in.
And our usual first question, for those who might not be familiar with you, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, a little bit about myself. Well, I'm a lifelong resident of Washington. I grew up in Skamania County. I came over to Klickitat County to start my career in 2004. I've worked for Bingen White Sound Police Department, the Golden Dale Police Department, and the Klickitat County Sheriff's Office. Throughout the time, had a lot of different trainings and positions that were held as working for the agencies, and a lot of institutional knowledge that comes from those agencies.
Why are you running for sheriff?
Oh, the million-dollar question. I ask myself this all the time. Why am I running for sheriff? Why am I putting myself through this? And it comes down to that we need a better service. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are not happy with the service that's currently happening in Klickitat County, mm-hmm. and we need to build that trust and the professionalism, and I think I'm the one to do it.
Now, if I remember correctly from reading your background, you're not in law enforcement right now, correct?
Correct.
I think you left the Sheriff's Office of Klickitat County about, 3 years ago?
Correct, in 23.
In 23. Why did you decide to leave at that time?
Well, for me, I really didn't feel that there was going to be the growth that I wanted, mm-hmm. and I decided that it was better for my family to step away and mm-hmm. actually improve myself. And I went to BNSF, and there I've gone from a laborer all the way up to foreman positions in several different crafts, and I continue to actually get leadership training there.
I take it, though, you miss law enforcement.
Obviously, yeah. Public service has always been my passion. From the time I was 16, I was a volunteer firefighter in Skamania County, mm-hmm. until I went into law enforcement. And as soon as I left law enforcement, guess what? I went right back to fighting fires. I am actually currently a volunteer firefighter with Rule 7.
Well, hopefully there won't be a fire in the next 20 minutes. So
let's hope not.
Call you out here. I'll just ask you, first of all, because you were inside, now you're outside of the department. What do you see as the biggest issue that faces the Sheriff's Department right now?
That faces the Sheriff's Office. Yeah. Again, that community trust, especially being on the outside and hearing a lot of people openly talk mm-hmm. and about their frustrations and how things are going, is that trust has been lost. And it's mm-hmm. some of it's the stance, some of it's the approach, and a lot of it's communication.
Mm-hmm. So how would you improve communication? I'll start there.
Well, being out in the community, openly communicating, and don't shoot people down. Just because we have a difference of opinion doesn't necessarily mean we can't work things out. Mm-hmm. I like to say, we may not agree, but we can get along.
I'll start with one group of people here, and that is the county commission, because I think it's fair to say mm-hmm. that there has been, I think it's been better in the last year and a half. And some of this is due to the fact that it's kind of natural. Sheriffs are elected position. County commissioners hold the purse strings. There's always kind of a natural tension there. But there has been a contentious relationship between the sheriff and the county commission. How would you look to improve that?
So, yeah, the sheriff's office obviously works alongside them. The stance has always been we don't answer to anyone except for the voters. We have to do what's best for the community. And again, it comes down to communicating with the commissioners on how to come to resolve instead of just stomping your feet, or I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but having that, you have to do it my way. Well, that's not always the answer. We have to present ourselves better and why we see things the way we do, and come to that conclusion that we can agree on.
Staffing of the and this gets in, of course, to coverage. I think that's what most people equate it with. How would you try to staff the sheriff's office, given the fact that obviously there's going to be limited resources? We know the budgetary situation. So working within that parameter, what would you emphasize?
So the emphasis I would start is with administration that can actually cover calls, a working staff. I think that's vital in a small department because we're obviously not going to get a bigger budget. So we have to work with what we have. Administration is important, and we have to do, obviously, administration roles. However, going out and handling some calls to break it up for the deputies and being out there, it does two-part things. It keeps us in touch with the deputies. It keeps us in touch with the communities we serve. So we also have a better idea of how to serve the public, and that would be my first step. My second step would be working towards a reserve program, broadening that so we have more bodies out there that can do law enforcement.
With Klickitat County, one of the great challenges is you have a sparse and spread out population and a lot of land base to cover within this. Do you think response times need to be improved?
Response times always need to be improved, and that is always going to be a very difficult challenge. And again, my approach to have reserves that we can call out. If deputies are tied up on Alderdale and there's something that breaks out in White Salmon and we have three reserve deputies that can be called out, that's an hour difference that they can be there and help out and stop the issues, resolve a problem. And then deputies could take it over for further investigation if needed. So I think that's a huge resource that we need to call upon.
You've mentioned the reserves a couple times. You've got the reserves. You've also got, of course, the posse volunteer group. What do you see as the future of those groups? How would you try to direct those resources?
So the posse program is support. They're not law enforcement. A lot of people think they are how they present themselves, and I would change that to be distinctively different. So they wouldn't be looking like a deputy at all. They'd have a standardized uniform, which they have great uniforms now. A little bit jealous because they're very professional looking. And again, coming back to the professionalism, we need a distinct difference. Reserves are law enforcement. They go through the academy that's locally. We put on the academy, and they can make arrests. The posse doesn't, and people need to know that, and I'm sure the posse, a lot of them know it. They state that they're not, but we also need to make sure that everybody knows that, and that's kind of lost, again, in communication. And a distinct difference is what I'd be looking for.
Training is something I've heard come up a lot in the conversations I've had so far. Obviously, you were in the department. What were your impressions of training at the time, and what would you emphasize in training?
So the state has a lot of different trainings that are required, and we need to do better at meeting those ahead of the schedule. Let's just put it that way. And again, it's resources, timing. However, when we have a lot of those met now, we can do in-house training more and work towards doing a lot of that hands-on, so we're above and beyond the training. And honestly, to meet those requirements, we just need to go above and beyond. We need to move funding around because training is expensive. The training budget when I was there was almost non-existent. It's definitely done better, and we need to continue doing that.
You know, we talk about with staffing and budgeting. One of the things I have heard mentioned at a lot of levels, and frankly not just Klickitat County Sheriff's Office, but a lot of things regard county government everywhere in this region. And that is the balance between adequately staffing and also, though, paying enough to the people that you have so that they'll stay in. And particularly in law enforcement, that's a problem. How do you juggle those two?
I probably really don't have a good answer to that because a lot of people are lost to big payouts on the west side. They can get a $20,000, $30,000. We can't do that. We can't pay someone the money there. But I think what we can do is emphasize the quality of life. Deputies do like training. They do like shiny things. So
well, yeah, everybody does.
Having those and the break up the monotony of the job. Training is a nice break, and we need to give the deputies quality time off, and that's where, again, reserves coming in to fill in some of those positions when they need the time off, and make sure they actually detach. And that is important because, unfortunately, I was in this ball game for a long time, 19 years. It was 24/7 cop. We actually need to separate that and have our well-being, have our recharge. So creating a culture around that, I think, could keep really good quality people that want to live in our county, because it's a beautiful county. Everybody moves here, it seems.
Which I guess goes to, again, though, the juggle with the budget in terms of having enough people where it becomes realistic, because I think we both know that in law enforcement, occasionally everybody's got to come out.
Exactly. And it is difficult. And from the top down, we need to realize that. And that's why I like to have administration that come out and work. We can relieve that too, because, be honest, I think all of us want to come out and work the road rather than sit in the office and do administration work. So coming out there, and that's our break. And again, a two-part thing. It keeps us in touch with the community. It keeps us in touch with the deputies.
Working with the prosecutor's office has been brought up in this, and evidence collection within the department. What do you think the standards need to be for that? I mean, and also the relationship with the prosecutor's office and fostering that.
Well, it comes down, communication has to be a two-way street. We have to have our standards and professionalism come to the evidence, make sure we're meeting our protocols and following our procedures to the dot every time, because that's professionalism. Meeting with the PA's office, I liked where we had law updates, and those things I would definitely foster so we keep on the same page. And we also know what they expect, instead of submitting a case and go, well, it got dumped. Go and ask, why did it get dumped? Well, you didn't have XYZ. Well, how do I get that? Have that communication, have that relationship is vital to serving the public.
You know, we're talking about communication here. I kind of steered it toward the county commission and talked about officers a little bit. Now let's go to the public and the buzzwords transparency and accountability. And I admit they're buzzwords, but they get used all the time in this. How do you believe the sheriff's office should communicate with the public to stand up to the accountability that the public will have for you? Because certainly, I will tell you from my experience as a reporter. You know, there are times I'll ask someone in law enforcement a question about a case, and I frankly know good and well I'm not going to get an answer. And that person says, "Well, I can't answer that." We both do it professionally. He knew I probably wasn't going to get. I didn't expect an answer, but I had to ask the question. Public doesn't always do that. I don't always understand that, though.
Right. So getting out and communicating to the public, okay, we can share as much information as long as it's not detrimental to a case. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Right. And we have to let people know the expectations of this. We don't want to jeopardize a case because we want cases to be successful, and we don't want to taint a jury pool, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to really steer clear of that. And that's where the professionalism, having a public information officer that definitely is trained in that area and goes through and watches those points, but still gives the public the information to know to make sure that they're secure in their home and the streets are safe. That's important. Where the other part, I think, is actually being out in the community as much as we can, the administration, the deputies, everybody. So we build those relationships. I kind of blame COVID. We shut down. We just respond to calls. That's all we do. We're not being proactive. But getting out there and being involved again is just a big thing.
Is some of that just, I know this is tough for county officers in the city because of the nature of what you do. You're in rural areas. But how much of this is just simply, being out there and just walking among the people?
That's exactly what it is. That's what I'm talking about. Getting out and being part of the community. Sit in the coffee shops when you can. We're usually running call to call, but we always stop at a gas station or someplace to grab that energy drink because we run long hours. And but having that 10-second conversation with someone in the store, hey, how you doing? Those actually go a long ways. It helped me in my career, and it's helped me throughout the community now. And I'm going around talking to people. They remember me because of that.
I will ask about, I'm going back to training here a little bit, because I one of the other candidates mentioned that the state office emphasizes during biennium certain amounts of training that, maybe you don't always agree that's the training that's needed at the time. As you look at law enforcement, I think of law enforcement today being asked to do so many other things, especially in the area of de-escalation. What do you think what sort of training needs to be emphasized? I mean, if you have the ability to say, okay, this is what we should target, and the state isn't necessarily telling you what to do.
So you brought up de-escalation. That is important, but it's not the fix-all.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to communication. Part of de-escalation is a huge part is communication, just talking with people, building that rapport. Patrol tactics are extremely important because those are constantly changing, and those are usually for officer safety issues. Some of the trainings that are out there, I don't agree with them, but it takes 15 minutes to do it. We can do it in our downtime, and we might actually learn something from it. Yeah. Or we might get more confused. So maybe a good point there to go back to the prosecutor. I'm like, what does this mean? And that's where that communication and relationship with the prosecutor, we can ask those so we can get clarification. But yeah, going through all these little trainings, the biggest ones, like you said, I feel de-escalation is very important. Patrol tactics, keeping up on case law, that's extremely important because our job changes daily.
You mentioned to me, you've had people tell you about their issues with the sheriff's office during the campaign, which is normal.
Of course.
Is what stands out to you though when you hear these things?
What stands out is a divide. Some people just don't feel heard, and it's actually on both sides.
Okay. And when we say both sides,
well, I'm talking like your Republican Party or Democratic Party.
Okay, so the partisan divide.
Exactly. So one side of the county just doesn't feel like they get the service, they don't get heard. But also the other side of the county, like we never see deputies until it's a bad thing has happened. And mainly it's because they're all the way on the other end of our county, on the east end. So I hear it on both sides. They don't feel they're getting that service. They don't feel they're getting the attention. And that is important. And it comes back to taking the time to stop in the store, say hi, have some biscuits and gravy. I don't know. just show that we are people. We're not a machine. We're never going to be a machine. We're there for them. That's our job.
8:27 in the morning. Dwayne Matulovich has been our guest, Klickitat County Sheriff candidate. Dwayne, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it.
And thank you for having me. Appreciate it, Mark.
And we will continue on with the news coming up at the bottom of the hour as Mid-Columbia Today rolls on after this.
Hello, I'm Doug Stepina with the City of Hood River. As our community plans for the future, we're taking a close look at two important challenges. In an emergency, our police facility must remain operational even after a major earthquake or fire. Today, it does not meet modern seismic or backup power standards. At the same time, housing shortages continue to put pressure on the workforce that keeps our community running. This month, the City Council is considering whether to refer 2 general obligation bonds to voters this November to address these needs. Visit hoodriver.gov/bond to learn more and stay informed.
Did you know Skyline Health in White Salmon has its very own sports medicine doc superstar? That's right, Dr. Ryan Petering trained at OHSU, cared for professional Nike athletes, and even spent more than 15 years teaching other doctors how it's done. From sporting injuries to arthritis, he's here to help you move better, feel stronger, and keep doing the things you love. Want to live life to its fullest? Step right up and visit myskylinehealth.org. Skyline Health, world-class care right here at home.
Coffee for Mid-Columbia Today guests is provided by Hood River Coffee Roasters, the gorgeous local coffee roasters, on Tucker Road on the Heights in Hood River.
And it is now 8:29 in the morning. This occurred to me. It would help me if I put the news out, the script in front of me to read. I just realized that. I'm talking too much, which is odd for a talk show host to say. Let's take a look at what's in the news. The Port Hood River Commission narrowly voted this week to not grant Amazon a 45-day extension on their proposed sale of about 11 acres at the Lower Handle Mill site near Odell. The decision gives Amazon until Monday to notify the port that it intends to move forward with a $3.4 million purchase to place a distribution facility on the site. In May, the Hood River County Planning Commission turned down Amazon's application to proceed. And that decision is scheduled for August 17th, a hearing before the County Commission. But Port Commissioner Ben Shepard pointed out even if the County Commission upheld Amazon's appeal, it's likely the matter would go to the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals, and he felt the company would be asking for another extension. The vote was 3-2. Shepard, Tor Beaker, and Catherine Thomas voting against the extension. Heather Gehring and Christy Chapman voted for it. If Amazon informs the port it wants to go ahead and close on the property, there would then be 30 days to complete that process. The Oregon State Traffic Engineer has given conceptual approval for a roundabout at Mount Adams Road and Cascade Avenue in Hood River. The city can now move forward with additional engineering and permitting. Construction of a roundabout is tentatively targeted for 2030. City first selected a roundabout as the preferred intersection alternative in the 2017 West Side Area Concept Plan and has since been incorporated into its transportation system plan. Funding will come from West Side Urban Renewal District. Cascade Avenue is a state highway, so state approval was needed. A pair of fires in southern Wasco County remained active heading into the night with evacuation orders remaining in effect. The incident 432 wildfires between Shantico and Antelope was over 400 acres in size. The Dead Man Canyon fire about 6.5 miles west of Antelope, and the National Interagency Fire Center estimated its size going into the night at 5,000 acres. The Wasco County Sheriff's Office currently has a Level 3 go-now evacuation advisory for Antelope and for both sides of Highway 293 from Milepost 4 to Milepost 8, and a Level 2B set advisory for Shantico. Highway 293 from 97 to Antelope closed. Firefighters battling a fire in the southeastern portion of Sherman County. The Wilcox fire reported late Thursday morning near Kent and resulted in the Sherman County Sheriff's Office establishing Level 3 go-now evacuation advisory for Wilcox Lane. The National Interagency Fire Center Thursday evening estimated the size of the fire around 2,500 acres. To the north, the Starvation Point fire, southeast of Wasco, 80% contained, estimated size of 4,500 acres. Current temperatures at this time, it is right now 59 degrees in Stevenson, 62 in the Dalles, 61 in Hood River. More Mid-Columbia today after this.
Looking for summer fun for the kids? Sign up now at Hood River Valley Parks and Recreation for all-day summer kids camps and youth activities. From sports, STEM, theater, and outdoor adventures to basketball, soccer, mountain biking, water sports, and more. Plus, financial assistance is available. Spots fill fast. Register today at hoodriverparksandrec.org.
KIHR is just a command away on your Alexa device. Enabling the KIHR skill is easy. Just say, Alexa, enable KIHR skill. Say, Alexa, open KIHR.
Hey, it's Zach from Del Carpine Automotive. You know those tall Sprinter vans that look like they could secretly double as apartments? Yeah, we work on those, and we know them really well. Whether it's your adventure rig, work van, or mystery mobile full of camping gear and snacks from 2022, we've got you covered. We're now just 10 minutes up the hill in our great new location in Hood River. Come see us. From Mercedes and Ford, big rigs to Sprinters, no jobs too big or small. At Del Carpine, we work on them all. Family owned and locally trusted.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bi-Coastal Media Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
8:35. I'm 25 minutes from forgetting this show exists for a week. Cameron Eisenberg will stay, though, and make sure that the ship stays on track. And my next guest will be here to actually be your host. Marti Dane is here. Good morning, Marty.
Good morning, Mark.
Thank you for doing this next week. In August.
I look forward to it every year. It's one of my favorite things.
This is a hard show for us to fill when I'm gone, because it does take local knowledge. It takes some understanding. It takes curiosity in interviewing. And it's not always, you can't just drop somebody into this. So
I got to say, it is also part of why it's fun is because it definitely feels like you're sitting in the hot seat. and there's a little bit of pressure, but it's also curiosity and fun to talk to people and see what kinds of things are happening this week.
Now, the funniest person to describe actually was former White Salmon Mayor David Poucher. One time I was with Denver producer, I was in the studio over there. So David sat in the seat I'm in that I've traditionally been in for these 30 years or close to. And he said, he goes, the power that's in this seat. I'm going, power? What power do I have, really? You know, other than somebody is giving me money to talk into a microphone, which does not make me an expert in anything, other than maybe convincing people to give me money.
And well, maybe. However, you've got to admit there is power in knowledge.
Yeah, I've learned a lot.
And I mean, you're constantly learning a lot.
Yes.
Whereas most of us, admittedly, live in a little bit of a bubble. Even if you're very outgoing, even if you really have an integrated network that's doing a lot of things, you don't get nearly the exposure that you do sitting in this chair, talking to people on a regular basis. You've got that depth of knowledge that helps to make predictions about what's going forward. It helps to be able to hold somebody accountable. And you can say to someone, you know, well, 5 years ago, you sat in that chair and told me, and
that's true.
that person has to be able to answer because they know.
I usually don't wait. I usually don't wait 5 years, by the way.
Yeah, that's fair. I was trying to be kind.
Anyway, let's get to our stuff here. What do you want to talk about this morning? What's up?
Okay, well, I have a silly story first, but it makes sense in the end.
Yeah, we got time.
So I live in an old house. It's like 100 years old, and like 102 now, and it's been through a lot of versions, let's say. So I decided that one of my doors had way too much paint on it, and I wanted to strip the paint off and turn it back into just a wooden door. 100-year-old wood. It's kind of fun, pretty often. And I thought, I've done a lot of remodels. I've done a lot of, I've gained some skills. I've got a lot of tools. And so I started this project and realized there were like 7 layers of paint. And some of them come off really well with like a heat gun and all this details. But then there was a trim around the inside, and it was one of these 2-panel doors. And each piece of trim had 3 levels to it. And what I thought was going to be a 2-day project is now in its 2nd week.
Okay, this sounds familiar. Every homeowner that's listening.
And there have been many times where I've decided, I kind of liked that white paint. Maybe I'm just going to paint this thing again and put it right back.
Here's the 2 things I keep thinking of. Number 1, given the age of your home, what's in some of the layers of paint that you're exposing yourself to?
Yes, granted, that's part of what's taken longer.
Number 2, did you think about just going and buying a new wood door?
That's yes, but that's not the point. I have seen places that, people have talked about, they restored this or they restored that. And I thought, well, I think the house deserves a little bit of that kind of attention. So 2 weeks in, and I'm still at that point of like using little woodworking tools that I never knew even existed to try and get this last paint off. And at some point, it's not a project that I want to finish anymore. It really starts becoming just a project of, how does this work? How do people do this?
Yeah.
Is this there's got to be a different way to do this. And all of a sudden I'm interested in who would spend their time doing this kind of thing on a regular basis.
I know people who in their retirement in particular do this all that's what they do. It's just tinker.
It is, and it takes a certain kind of attention that you can't get if you're working on, it's 8 different things.
Right.
So being able to dive deep into this project kind of made me think about what does it take in order to like solve some of our problems, and why do we get into these quagmires of communication?
Yeah.
And I was listening to your last guest, and he kept coming back to, well, it comes down to communication. It's like, well, communication is an enormous umbrella.
Yes, it is.
You cannot even hold it. It's enormous. And so I think we need to do better at expanding our vocabulary around what are we talking about when we talk about communication. How is it working, and how do we change it, and be able to actually have that dialogue instead of it being something that I know inside of me, you know inside of you. If it's happening, you're communicating. It's
the definition of how we communicate has changed so greatly in the last quarter century because, of course, of the devices like I've got right in front of me right now.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this the other day because the other day was the 20th anniversary of Twitter coming on to the scene. Now, of course, X.
Wow.
And my line was, you can determine yourselves if that's good or bad. But it came along. My point was always with this, you're never going to have an intelligent conversation in 140 characters or less. I don't know how you plan to do this. But we've now spent a generation, basically, where the norm of communication has left face-to-face and become device-to-device. And the problem with device-to-device is you lose so much nuance. I mean, there are things I put in an email, say, and this is not social media thing, but just an email, where I read it and go, God, does this sound like I'm awful? Does this sound like I'm being really not nice, basically. Or if I said the exact same words with nuance to someone, either on the phone or face-to-face, I wouldn't have a hesitation to work, because the nuance in the face-to-face, the way you communicate it, would eliminate that. And so I think it's doubly so with social media when you start to add in the limitations of that medium.
Yeah. I mean, that nuance is what gives us our individuality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And helps us to break apart from just agreeing with something and moving on, or being a part of some big thing, and rather say, well, this is how I would deliver that message. This is a message that's coming from, Mark Bailey. He's going to say it in a way that makes sense, because obviously your voice is a big part of who you are. And so dwindling that down to words makes it probably even sound unfamiliar at some level.
Not real. I know. I'm not sure it's unfamiliar, but just it's impersonal.
Exactly.
Is what it is.
Yeah. And yet, social media has also, and text messaging and everything around that, has also allowed people to be very, very specific and personal, and that can be
in
really
a bad way. Oftentimes, I mean, this is where it gets to. There's so many people who behind a keyboard, they'll say things that they would never ever have the guts, I'll use, to say to someone to their face.
Yeah,
and that's not a good thing, and I think that's part of why sometimes we get. I'm amazed at the arguments people get into when I actually make the horrible mistake of perusing a Facebook argument.
Yeah,
which is just I don't recommend. Don't do it, people. Don't get into them and don't read them. I mean, this is like fire. We need to quit giving it oxygen. Yeah.
Well, I think we're getting closer to that. I mean, I definitely have some awareness of future generations who are not spending anywhere near as much time with their devices.
I'm assuming your daughter's one of them.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah.
There's a few more out there that are. It's starting to be more hopeful, and I do think it's been kind of like a shiny new toy, and it's something we've experimented with that's starting to lose its usefulness.
Somebody told me the other day that younger generations than the two of us, who have done a lot of their dating through apps, are now wanting to get away from that. I came to a very early. I prefer my women in 3 dimensions, rather than 2D. Okay, that's the basic way I can put it. I prefer that.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there.
Well, I'm not going to go any further, but
but I know what you mean, and I think that there are conversations that happen to a certain point on text or whatever, but then you really do need to actually have eye contact with that person,
and that was
to determine whether or not what you're hearing is real.
Well, that was my point. Is that you're finding a lot of younger people. I probably shouldn't. Cameron may agree or disagree, because he's the actual young person here. I'm not. You will always be young. There, I smoothly got out of that one, didn't I? But anyway, but they're coming to a conclusion of that the human contact that they need is really much more valuable and something they want to experience.
Yeah, there is a whole lot more to communication than just saying the words or just reading the words. And I mean, we all know it instinctively, we all know it intuitively, but making the time for it, I feel like in as much as we have more ways to communicate now, we have less energy to do it. And so people... it takes a lot to have a face-to-face conversation with somebody.
It does.
And so you got to find resources for that energy. And I don't know. I think it's something that, like, if you're going to start running and you don't just start out with a marathon, you have to get out and train for it. I don't know. I'm not sure where that goes. Off on a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah. I'm going to bring it back here. I did I steered as far afield here.
That's okay. I I came in thinking that, one of the problems with our world right now that I get fascinated by is truth. Mm-hmm. Are we really searching for what's true? Mm-hmm. And is there such a thing? Is it a ruse? Mm-hmm. Can we actually find the truth? Or is the truth something that's just really kind of luring people into the conversation? Mm-hmm. And I'm curious what you think about that. Do you think there is such a thing as like getting to the truth of the matter?
Depends on what it is.
Say more.
Well, I think when we're talking about actual things that you can measure, mm-hmm. I think you can get to the truth of the matter. When we talk about more philosophical issues, you can't. I mean, just because there is no tangible point you can go to and say this is what the truth is.
Yeah.
You can't. Religion being a prime example, which I always try to avoid on this show because I just find it just a no-win conversation.
Well, then,
but the point being is much of what is discussed in religion, there is no way on this earth to prove.
Yeah.
There isn't. If you believe, then you will get the proof after we're finished on this earth and moving on to whatever's next.
Well, I think another example is almost as big, and that comes in the form of justice or like the law or whether somebody has done something wrong, and people often want all the details so that they can make up their own mind about it, but yet the details get into a question of whether that person is innocent or not. And you can't harm that process because we have a process set up to make that determination. And yet people want to be able to decide for themselves. And I think that is kind of the crux of it, this idea that truth can be an individualized thing, or is it something that as a community we can agree, yes?
I think if truth becomes an individualized thing, that's more to me belief and faith rather than truth. I think truth is the truth is along the lines of you have a cup of some sort of beverage in front of you. I see it. It's there. That is true. A true statement. If I said you have a cup of green tea in front of you, and your cup's completely closed off, it's a thermos type cup for those out there. That I don't know if that's true. That I believe it's true, but I don't know it's true.
Yeah. But if you knew me well and you knew that every day I drink tea and that's like the way it is, and then you would be able to say with pretty good certainty that's what Marty would do.
That's an educated guess at that point. It's still not the truth.
Granted, we rely on educated guesses all the time.
Yes, we do.
To build our foundations.
Because you again, knowing what exactly is true about everything is not possible.
Yeah.
I mean, not at least not with our current states of consciousness. Maybe down the road as we use more of our brains and human beings hopefully become smarter.
Yeah.
We only use like 10% of our brain is what I think I read one time. And it's like,
it's such a shame. We
have
so much potential.
We do. But we aren't that far down the road yet.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So if you rely on educated guesses and you rely a little bit on you know that person, you know how they behave, you've seen them before, they've developed a pattern and you can predict what's going to happen next, then if they tell you something, you tend to believe somebody that you know well compared to someone that you don't know anything about.
Right.
And that belief goes on top of other beliefs and on top of other beliefs, and they think, well, that person's going to tell the truth. I trust them. Yeah.
We're running out of time here.
Really?
It's already 8:52.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, we hit that point. You're going to have to really notice this, by the way, next week.
When you're not here, it is so much more apparent what time it is. Well, it's just
because you're in charge of that at that point. I mean, between and Cameron is the one who keeps me. If I start going far afield, he brings me back into play.
Yeah,
that's his role of this.
You're leaving me in good hands.
Well, his role is thankless in a lot of ways because or I won't say thankless. I do thank him. But I imagine frustrating at times because he'll be waiting for me to shut up and I don't do it, like right now.
Well, that is a skill.
So I will now take our break here and come back and wrap things up right after this.
Hood River County Fair returns July 22nd through 25th. Bring the whole family for days packed with carnival rides, great fair food, livestock, exhibits, local traditions, and unforgettable entertainment. Friday night, celebrate with the incredible show band Bondadosis and Grupo Maravilla de Robin Maravilla live on stage. Then Saturday night, country legends Black Hawk take the stage for a concert you won't want to miss. Summer memories are made at the Hood River County Fair in Odell, July 22nd through 25th. Concerts are free with fair admission.
Join Aniche Sellers for the 9th annual Food for All, an evening where community comes together to make a difference. Friday, August 14th, starting at 4:30. Enjoy a celebration of everything local with incredible local food, award-winning wine, live music, and local art. Your support helps benefit Washington Gorge Action Program's Food Bank Network, serving more than 39% of residents across Skamania and Klickitat counties. Gather, give back, and celebrate local. Get your tickets now through the banner at wagap.org. Don't miss Food for All at Aniche Sellers.
Tune in weekday mornings at 8:05 and keep up with community events and issues with the Mid-Columbia Today Show on Mid-Columbia's news leaders, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital, Eastside Paving, and Del Carpine Automotive.
8:56 in the morning. Here's what Marty is going to talk about next week because I'm not going to be here. We're going to talk Port of Hood River with Executive Director Kevin Greenwood. I'm sure we'll probably get an Amazon a little bit. Second half of the show, the Dallas Area Chamber of Commerce new CEO Lynn Cox will be introduced to the audience. Tuesday, Hood River County School District Superintendent Bill Newton and White Salmon Mayor Marla Keeler will be here. Wednesday, Mike Shen, Hood River County Education Foundation. They've got a benefit concert coming up next week with Jennifer Batten, the well-known guitarist, coming to town. And so we will talk to her. And then Julie Hester and Juan Reyes from WAGAP will be here. We got a couple things with them. Lisa Commander on Thursday, History Museum, Hood River County Executive Director. They've got some events coming up the rest of the summer. Also, we'll talk to Brian Despain, Columbia Gorge Community College, about their aviation resources, or aviation maintenance program, and specifically the new hangar that is being has been put together at the Columbia Gorge Regional Airport in Dallasport. And Friday, Brenda Massey, Early Childhood Care Business Accelerator Program is going to get underway. We'll talk about what that is as they try to encourage people to go into the child care business because goodness knows there is not enough out there. And Lindsay McClure, Hood River County Energy Council, that group and a number of other agencies at May Street Elementary School next Saturday, they are going to hold an event outlining many of the options people have to be more energy efficient and resilient and independent. So we'll talk to Lindsay about that. That's what's coming up next week. I have filled up the show. They have all confirmed, which makes Marty here very happy because I don't think she wants to do the tap dance that I do occasionally on this. She was asking me how I do that, and the problem is I don't know. I have no idea how I do this. Nobody ever trained me to do this, by the way. No, I just got told, here, you're the host. Oh, good. Any advice? Don't lose our license. Okay, thank you. And that's that's been the basis of our philosophy the last 28 years. Don't lose the license for the station. That's the baseline. We build from there. But I thank everybody for listening. I'll be back on the 27th. I'll be back for 3 weeks. I'm going to leave again. I got to get my vacation in before football season starts, because then I'll be traveling around again. That's the other thing I do. My life is very segmented. It still is. Even though I turned the odometer the other day. I didn't tell you all out there, but I did. It was a big numeral turnover, of which I'm going to celebrate next week by buying a new driver for the golf course. A friend of mine said, spend the big bucks. But yeah, it's not your money. I'm done. For Cameron Eisenberg, who will have Mid-Columbia Mornings for you during the course of the next week, I'm Mark Bailey. Marti Dane will join you on Monday. Talk to you then.
Mid-Columbia Today Show is a public affairs presentation of Bicoastal Media Columbia River. The views expressed on the program are not necessarily those of the station, parent company, or of the sponsors. We welcome your suggestions for future shows. Call us at 541-386-1511. Listen to Mid-Columbia Today where you want. Follow or subscribe to Mid-Columbia Today wherever you download your podcast to get the show delivered every day to your mobile device.